can you tell us about the New Jersey ballot?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Imani Oakley. I'm a candidate running for Congress in New Jersey's 10th Congressional District. And one thing that most people don't know about New Jersey and New Jersey elections is that we have the most corrupt ballot design in the entire country. And it literally is not an exaggeration. We are the only state in the entirety of the nation to use this type of ballot design. What it looks like is this long column of names where you had the most popular name at the top, so you'll have somebody like Joe Biden or Cory Booker all the way at the top of the ballot. And everybody down ballot will be placed right under them. Now, on its face, doesn't sound that bad, right? The problem is the way you get placed under those popular names is you have to do favors for machine party bosses, whether those are financial favors or political favors. And once you are placed on that long column, voters immediately go right towards that column, they look at it, and they say, these are where the serious Democrats are, because they see that popular name at the top. And then they just vote right on down, whether they know your name before, whether they know that you're only there because you've done a financial favor, doesn't matter. They will assume, because it's a psychological effect of that long column, that you are a serious Democrat. Now, what happens to all the other folks? So challengers like me, for example, who are challenging the machine and their entire Tammany Hall corrupt style of politics. They get placed in what we call Ballot Siberia. Now, Ballot Siberia essentially means you are placed on some random far-off place on the ballot where somebody's eyes would not naturally gravitate towards. So if your column goes vertical, likely when you have the line, you will be all the way to the left because people are used to reading left to right. They put that long column on the left, your eyes go immediately there. You see that strong long column and you're like, yeah, these are the serious Democrats. Then the person who's placed out in Ballot Siberia is placed all the way out to the right somewhere, by themselves, a bunch of white space around them, not in a column. So again, eyes are not going to generally go all the way to the right if the big thing is all the way on the left. But also the just visual of you being by yourself with all of that white space, people are going to think you're not serious. And then similarly, if your ballot goes horizontally, what'll happen is Ballot Siberia for a challenger like me will be all the way at the bottom. Same deal though, a bunch of white space around you. You look like you're just kind of like, you know, the one tinfoil hat candidate that is not serious at all. And it really has a psychological effect on voters. There are some estimates that getting given the line by the party bosses is equivalent to having a double-digit percentage advantage during elections, which is a very huge, significant advantage. So again, you know, this is a very, very corrupt ballot design. It's actually a form of voter suppression because voters are not choosing who goes on this line. Voters are not really having a real say in who they're choosing. These party bosses are choosing it for them, and it's not fair. This particular year was very interesting because I actually had an aunt, and I heard this story from other colleagues of mine who also have older family members who wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders. A lot of them became confused because they saw Bernie out to the side and they saw Joe Biden in this long column, and they wanted to, like my aunt, for example, wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders, and she wanted to vote for Booker and on down for some of the down ballot people where she is in New Jersey. She's in Central Jersey, I'm in North. And I had to talk to her and tell her that, like, no, you are allowed to vote for Bernie Sanders and those other folks. You don't have to vote down that line. But again, you can see how if you don't have a family member that really knows how the ballot operates like that, how that could be confusing, and how many people might just either throw up their arms and not vote at all and just say, this is too confusing, I'm not doing this at all. Either say, you know, I'm sticking with Bernie all the way. I'm not voting for these down ballot people. Forget it. I'm just going to go for Bernie and be safe, which that's also not good because if they want to vote for people down ballot, they have the right to do so and they should not be confused about it. And then there's the other aspect where if somebody really wanted to vote for Bernie, but they're afraid because they really want to support those down ballot candidates where they might just say, okay, well, I'll just give it up to Bernie. I'm sure enough people are voting for him. I'm going to help these down ballot folks and make sure I vote down this entire column. Any of those scenarios ends up with a voter not having a true choice, it ends up with voter confusion, and it ends up in a really, really tainted form of democracy, which is what we're dealing with here in New Jersey.
And Imani, can you, for contrast, take a look at the North Carolina ballot?
Yeah, so we have here a ballot from North Carolina. It's from also 2020, Super Tuesday. And you'll see, again, you'll have these federal offices, and in the light gray box, you'll have whatever office it is. So you'll have presidential, you'll have U.S. Senate, House, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And in the first big box, under that light gray title, you have everybody running for that position. So for the presidential one, you have Deval Patrick, you have Bernie Sanders, you have Tom Steyer, you have Elizabeth Warren, and every single person who ran in 2020, all in that same box. Now, we all know, right, that like Cory Booker, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders were not all on the same team. If this would have been a Jersey ballot, this would have made it look like, in this line that they're in, would have made it look like they're on the same team. Here, it's completely fair because everybody's in this one box, whether they're on the same team or not. So the voter just has to choose one, and they have to pretty much do it based off of whatever education they've done prior to coming to vote. Similarly, with U.S. Senate here, you've got a few names. You've got Erica Smith, Steve Swenson, Cal Cunningham, etc. And again, it's the same thing. These folks are people who are not on the same team. They're running against each other. And so the voter is not going to vote down. They only have one choice. And they vote for one of them due to whatever prior information they get before stepping into the booth. There's no psychological games going on here. There have been some arguments that there's a little bit of bias depending on like whether you're closer to the top or to the bottom. But it's so incredibly slight that it really doesn't give much of a difference. And so, this is a much more fair ballot than what New Jersey has. And again, this is in the South. This is North Carolina, a place where people would typically tell you, oh, the voting isn't fair there, there's voter suppression there, etc. But there's also an attempt every single year, and a successful attempt at that in New Jersey, to have its own form of voter suppression every year. I have made the ballot line and the ballot design a part of the messaging for my campaign since day one. I actually used to also teach about the ballot line. I've talked to unions, I've talked to immigrants' rights groups, I've talked to civil rights groups about the ballot line and taught them about, this is what it is, this is different than any other state, because most people don't know that. I mean, most people don't know about ballot design, and why would they? That's weird. That's weird and wonky. Only people who are steeped in politics tend to know about this thing. And so I've made it a part of my messaging since day one, because what I've found is that as soon as people learn about the ballot line, as soon as they see it and understand how it operates, they are upset about it and they want to get rid of it. And they are absolutely willing to then go and look for progressive candidates on the ballot as opposed to just voting straight down that column. So that's the way we're going to overcome it. I feel very good about it because, again, I have seen this in action. As soon as people learn about it and they see those two comparison ballots, they're like, oh no, New Jersey needs to have a regular ballot, and I will make sure I look for you on it. So, it's definitely beatable, but the voter education is very, very key in beating it.
Great. Good luck.
Thank you.